At the beginning, a young man named Takumi finds himself traveling at an incredible speed, with a bright light constantly shining on his face. At the end of this journey, he encounters a goddess who informs him that he has been summoned to Mildgard through a spell. She introduces herself as Nolan and quickly apologizes, revealing that his summoning was a mistake. Takumi, utterly confused, questions how this could happen, considering it was Nolan who summoned him. Nolan explains that the spell used to summon individuals from other worlds selects targets randomly. In Takumi's case, he was initially discarded, but was accidentally rescued by a magical needle that redirected him to the group of the Chosen, leading to this unusual situation. Nolan further explains that this summoning spell had been banned due to the extreme dangers it poses. Despite this, the nation of Mildgard decided to reactivate and use the spell. Nolan says she tried to intervene, but was unable to completely stop its activation, which resulted in her taking Takumi into her care. Curious about the others who were summoned, Takumi asks if they are also there. Nolan clarifies that the other summoned individuals were safely sent to the activation point in the Holy Empire of Sidonia. With this explanation, Takumi realized that his summoning was indeed a mistake. He pleads to be sent back to Earth, but Nolan regretfully informs him that returning is impossible. She explains that not only is she against using the spell again, but Takumi no longer has a physical body to return to, making his life on Earth unattainable. Shocked by this revelation, Takumi asks what will happen to him. Nolan suggests that he let go of his past life and start anew as a citizen of Mildgard, as it is his only viable option. Feeling responsible for his predicament, Nolan assures Takumi that she will fully support him in this new life and grants him her blessing to help ease the transition. Nolan instructs Takumi to check his status, and he quickly realizes that he is now in the body of a 17-year-old boy named Takumi. Before sending him off, the goddess hands him a crystal imbued with her blessing and transports him directly to the continent of Asgard, his new world. Upon arriving, Takumi glances at his reflection in a nearby pool and is struck by his impressive appearance. He then checks the contents of his bag, finding a few essential items, some food, and a knife. Eager to understand his new capabilities, he tests out some of his magical abilities before setting off on a journey to find a nearby village as quickly as possible. During his travels, Takumi stumbles upon a piece of high-quality wood, typically used for crafting magical tools and spear shafts. Recognizing its value, he decides to utilize his blacksmithing skills to craft a spear. Using nothing but the power of his mind, he successfully shapes the wood into a functional weapon. Building on his success, he begins generating various plants to brew potions and create poisons. However, Takumi soon realizes that his collection of plants exceeds the capacity of his backpack. To solve this problem, he uses his abilities to create an infinite item storage box, allowing him to carry as much as he needs without worrying about space. Honestly, Nolan really made things way too easy for Takumi, don't you think? Grateful for the goddess's generosity, Takumi silently thanks her, his eyes gleaming with appreciation for the practical abilities she bestowed upon him. Suddenly, his attention is drawn to a young girl hiding behind him, visibly terrified. She is being chased by a massive, rabbit-like creature. Takumi, seeing the monster for the first time, is briefly startled. However, he quickly overcomes his hesitation and instinctively throws his spear, taking down the creature in a single strike. Shocked by his own power, Takumi wonders how a novice like himself could defeat his first monster so easily. The girl, now safe, expresses her gratitude and explains that she is a villager. She recounts how she was gathering medicinal herbs when she accidentally wandered too far into the forest. Realizing she comes from a nearby village, Takumi asks her to guide him there. Relieved at the prospect of avoiding a night in the forest, he is grateful for this unexpected stroke of luck. As they proceed, Molly suggests that Takumi take the horned rabbit he defeated, explaining that it's a delicious delicacy. Takumi agrees and uses his magical item box to store it. Witnessing this unique ability firsthand, Molly is astonished, as she has never seen anything like it before. Takumi, however, finds it odd that she noticed his ability, considering he had left it hidden. As they continue walking, Molly introduces herself, and meanwhile, in the Holy Empire of Sidonia, other summoned individuals appear confused about their new surroundings. A hooded woman approaches them and explains that they have been summoned as heroes to this world. She introduces herself as Elizabeth, the first Empress of Sidonia. Upon seeing her, Akane suddenly receives a unique ability from the goddess called Revelation, which hints that she will soon uncover the full truth. This newfound power makes Akane suspicious of Elizabeth, who doesn't appear entirely trustworthy. And, let's be honest, this situation definitely has the scent of trouble brewing. Back in the village, Takumi finally arrives and is warmly welcomed by Benga and Martha, Molly's parents. Takumi asks if he can stay in the village for a while, and they eagerly agree. After all, there's a nearby vein of ore, making the area a paradise for any artisan. Benga informs Takumi that the village doesn't have an inn, as it's very modest, but the village's blacksmith offers to build him a small home. Takumi starts by using his earth magic to level the ground for the house. However, the effort drains almost all of his mana, leaving him kneeling from exhaustion. Witnessing his magical capabilities, the blacksmith is impressed, but tells Takumi to let the rest of the work be handled by his crew. As Takumi observes the kindness of the villagers, he begins to feel that he might truly have a wonderful life in this new world. Once the house is completed, Takumi uses his skills to craft furniture, finishing the setup of his new home. Afterward, he reviews his current status, which is set as both a warrior and mage. Curious, he wonders if these can be changed and discovers that he can indeed switch professions. Opting for something different, Takumi changes his profession to alchemist. Takumi then moves to a table filled with the ores he had collected and starts refining them into ingots. While working, he explains the 5 core techniques of alchemy: decomposition, extraction, pulverization, synthesis, and recomposition. By applying a few of these techniques, Takumi successfully transforms the raw ore into a shiny iron ingot. Although it required a significant amount of mana, Takumi felt content knowing he was at least able to put his alchemy skills into practice. Later, Molly visited his house to deliver dinner, only to find him collapsed on the floor, completely drained of mana. Shocked, she panicked until Takumi woke up and explained that he had overused his mana, causing him to faint. Martha, concerned, scolded him with a lecture, while Benga handed him a mana potion to recover. After some rest, Takumi resumed using his magic, despite Martha and Molly frequently checking on him. During this time, he managed to extract multiple ingots from ores and crafted various items, further leveling up his alchemy skills. On another day, Takumi assisted the blacksmith in forging a knife. Impressed with the results, the blacksmith declared it the finest piece he had ever made, thanks to Takumi's mech, which precisely controlled the heat during the process. This success pushed Takumi to level 40 in alchemy. Encouraged by his progress, Takumi decided to experiment further by crafting potions using medicinal herbs he had gathered from the forest. Benga suggested he sell some of the potions once they were ready. However, Takumi warned him not to have high expectations, as it was his first attempt at potion making. Returning home, Takumi successfully created 2 potions, each with distinct color. With his confidence growing, Takumi decided to build poison resistance by consuming a venomous plant. However, the experiment quickly turned into a crisis as he felt the poison taking over his body. Desperate, he activated his healing magic, narrowly avoiding death. Although he recognized this as an effective method to build resistance, Takumi acknowledged the difficulties it entailed. The experiment, however, wasn't a complete failure. He gained the ability to use purification magic as a result. As Takumi was finishing his recovery, he was suddenly attacked by an enormous armored boar. Unlike the horned rabbit he encountered earlier, this creature was clearly far more dangerous. The boar charged at him, sending Takumi flying. Despite the blow, Takumi quickly got back on his feet and launched a series of magical attacks at the monster. Unfortunately, none of his spells inflicted any damage. Realizing brute force wouldn't work, Takumi paused to strategize, searching for a way to find the creature's weak spot. During the battle, Takumi notices another monster lurking behind him, further complicating his already dire situation. However, As soon as the armored boar spots the newcomer, a massive spider, it turns its attention away from Takumi and begins fighting the arachnid. This shift in focus gives Takumi a brief reprieve. Eventually, when the spider is overwhelmed and unable to continue, the boar redirects its attack toward Takumi. In a desperate move, Takumi uses an alchemical decomposition technique against the boar. The spell proves effective, finally bringing down the powerful beast. With the battle over, Takumi turns his attention to the spider. Observing the situation more clearly, he realizes the spider had actually been trying to help him during the fight. Seeing that the spider has lost one of its legs, Takumi uses his healing ability to regenerate it. After healing the spider, Takumi gains a new skill, the ability to tame the creature. With the spider now his companion, Takumi decides to give it a name and settles on Maple. To his surprise, Maple immediately evolves into a venomous spider, nearly doubling in size. When the villagers gather and see the massive armored boar lying dead, they are stunned. None of them can believe Takumi managed to defeat such a formidable monster. They are even more amazed to discover that he has tamed a deadly assassin spider. Domestication of insect-type monsters is considered nearly impossible, making Takumi's feat extraordinary. Later that evening, Banga brings Takumi the materials harvested from the boar and suggests he sell them in the nearby city of Bolton. Meanwhile, Nolan, the goddess, observes Takumi from afar, silently watching his progress in this new world. Another goddess approaches Nolan and questions her intentions toward Takumi. She points out that Nolan not only granted him her blessings, but also sent him to this world a year before Sidonia's empire activated its summoning ritual. Despite the other goddess's curiosity, Nolan does not disclose her true expectations for Takumi. Instead, she watches him with a gentle and knowing expression, her gaze full of affection. This marks the end of the first episode, and honestly, I'm really enjoying this anime so far. If you liked it too, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment asking for part 2. I'll definitely bring it to you. See you in the next episode.